Is this the same movie? Yes. Is it really the same movie? Not exactly.
Welcome to episode 223 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Big 223, I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the good and the bad, the nerd and the murd. So, excuse me. My wife's birthday was recently, and I had custom handmade golf head covers of our two poodles for her. I sent in pictures of our two standard poodles. We have 5 dogs total. The poodles are hers, the chihuahuas are mine. Um, um, but yeah, they look just like our two standard poodles, and it's so cool. But she also got a sourdough making kit, and she has spent
Oh,
the
nice.
last week feeding and growing the sourdough, and then finally yesterday spent the whole day just cooking sourdough. She made sourdough English muffins, sourdough bread. She made a sourdough cake, all this stuff. I mean, yeah, it took her a week just to grow the dough. And it's funny. She told me, she said, yeah, there's this discard that you take off, and I could use that for something. And I was like, then why is it called a discard? But yeah, apparently you can still use it. I said, yeah, hot dogs are discard too.
Yeah.
Um,
Yes, they are.
for those of you who don't know, that's the lips and assholes that are left over. Hopefully I ruined some hot dogs for somebody, even though I like them.
Lips and assholes. It's still meat, brother.
I don't think I talked about this in our last episode, and forgive me if I did. Did I tell you about our listener, Sarah Ann, and when she was listening to the show?
No.
So I love Sarah Ann. She's a friend of ours, and she's such a big proponent of the show. Every time she introduces me to somebody new, she's like, and he's got this podcast, you got to listen to it here. So I love her to death. Well, she was listening to the show as she was doing housework not too long ago, and her husband came in as she was listening, and he stopped and he goes, "Why do I know that voice? Why do I know that voice?" And she goes, "Well, just listen for a minute." And he listened. He's like, "I know that voice." And and I don't remember the exact words she said. She said, "But I'll give you a hint. He's somebody at the club who's really loud." And he listened. He goes, "Oh, I know who that is." So Sarah Ann and her husband Roque. Roque's he's been a local chef down here for a long time. He teaches culinary now, but he did executive chef stuff around here. And Sarah Ann is she does she I don't want to say it wrong, agriculture, horticulture. She's really big into growing things. That's her business. That's what she does. Really big in that. But she's a big listener. So shout out to her. I love Sarah Ann.
Hey, Sarah Ann.
She will get offended if you call her Sarah. It is Sarah Ann.
No. Yeah. That's all right. I grew up with a kid named Joe Bob.
Well, she's so funny. She and
Nobody ever called him Joseph Robert, but it was on his wedding invitation, which I found odd. I was like, why did you do that? You hate it when people call you Joe or Robert.
She is just so funny. She and I have the same sense of humor. I love talking with her. So shout out to Sarah Ann. I got into Peacemaker. I had never watched it. It's pretty. It's fun.
Yes.
It's very.
I love the opening. The opening is my favorite.
The dance number.
Uh-huh. And they're all stone-faced.
Yes. Throughout the whole thing. It's a very inappropriate show. 100% very inappropriate,
Uh-huh.
but I've enjoyed it. It's that's been a fun show. I think I'm about 2 episodes before season 2 now.
What do they
Um,
call that one guy? Dyed beard or
I keep trying to hear what he's saying. Old beer, die beer. I don't remember. That's the Economist.
yeah.
I don't remember the
Dyed beard.
name he calls him. I don't know, but it's funny. It's funny. John Cena is a funny guy. I've seen several things with him in, and it just didn't expect him to be in really funny, good shows, but he's very enjoyable to watch. Very funny.
Dedicated to peace. And I don't care how many people I have to kill to get there.
That is a cut man. That is a cut man. God, he is built. That's just jealousy there. I can tell you that for sure. The other big thing I had that I'm so excited about, and I'm fairly certain I'm right on all 4 of these. I know for a fact I'm right on at least 3 of these, but upcoming in November, next season of Landman,
Hmm.
Mobland, Mayor
Hmm.
of Kingstown, and the Tulsa King.
Hmm.
Very excited. All 4 of those. I believe all 4 are coming out in November. I know for a fact it's Landman, Mayor of Kingstown, and Tulsa King. Mobland's the one
You
I'm
do
not.
know that that dude just opened a production company in Fort Worth, Texas, right?
Taylor Sheridan?
Yeah. There is a studio in Alliance in Fort Worth, Texas, that is the biggest studio in the Southwest now.
I don't doubt it. With Landman being as popular as it is, that makes sense because it's filmed almost entirely in Fort Worth, some
Yeah,
of Dallas.
there's some establishing shots that I think just B-roll from like because it's supposed to take place in like Midland.
Yeah,
It's nowhere near Midland.
no.
It's
There
all
are
filmed around Alliance.
there are some shots in Midland. Oh, not just Alliance. It's in Aledo.
Mhm.
Aledo plays a big portion. Downtown Fort Worth. There is a little bit of Dallas.
Mhm.
Not much. It's mostly Fort Worth, and it's funny
Yeah.
because they
Well, I
have
mean,
a
like back in the day, like the first 2 seasons of Dallas were filmed almost exclusively in Fort Worth
yeah
and Waxahachie.
yeah. There's
You
a
you almost never saw Dallas.
there's a well, except for the title credits.
Yeah.
Um,
But that was just established B-roll,
yes,
establishing shots
yeah.
out of a
There's a
helicopter.
there's a hospital in Landman that says Fort Worth Hospital. I'm going to tell you right now, there is no such thing. There is no Fort Worth Hospital.
Uh-huh.
But they obviously didn't have permission. But
What
yeah, that
hospital
makes
was
sense.
it?
I don't remember. It's some. If I recall right, when I looked it up, it's some medical building off the Chisholm Trail,
Okay.
somewhere around there, if I recall correctly.
Oh, like the two little mini hospitals they built back in the 90s
I think
off of
so.
yeah,
Yeah,
Southwest Fort Worth.
yeah. Well, no, not that far south. Not like the old City View and the old Harris. It's
Yeah.
farther up the Chisholm Trail.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I think somewhere around there. But yeah, that makes sense with Landman as big as it is for him to move the production studio from there. But
Yeah.
for those of
Yeah.
you who,
Ann Richards' dream has finally been made real because she was trying so hard to get a production studio here because she's like, you got everything you need. We're
hmm hmm
cheaper than California. Why not come here?
yeah,
And everybody she got, I think that's why she lost the election because everybody just shit on her for it. It's like, dude, do you see how much money we lost to uh, Georgia? Because all that stuff that got
hmm
filmed in Georgia was gonna be filmed here,
yeah.
and yeah, we lost it all. Uh,
Um, having
props to
having
him for building a studio in Fort Worth. That makes me so happy.
Well, having not watched Yellowstone at all, which I've heard is really good, and unfortunately I can't get it right now because I believe it's all moved over to Peacock, which is weird because it's a Paramount thing, but it's over on Peacock. And I'm not picking up another streaming service. I've said that before. Um, Landman, Mobland, Mayor of Kingstown, Tulsa King, all 4 of those brilliant shows, absolutely wonderful shows. I highly recommend all 4 of those, and their next seasons are all coming out, which is just
Mhm.
exciting.
Yeah, and I
Absolutely
will say
exciting.
this about Landman: if you like the area in Landman, that's Southwest Fort Worth, man. That's what it
Mostly,
looks like.
mostly,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean, the
that's kind of where I grew up.
The Ridgely Country Club
Yeah,
is in Landman. You know the that hotel across from the Water Gardens is in
yeah.
Landman. You see a sign for Camp Bowie Boulevard in Landman as he's
Yeah,
driving down. So check those out. Really, really good. And like I said, more seasons coming out in November. I think you should all take a spin through there. Take a
yeah,
watch.
yeah. Take a look because what you think Texas looks nothing like that. What you think Texas looks like is actually Arizona.
Well, for Landman, you're not going to get that from Mobland
Yeah,
there
yeah,
in
yeah,
town. Tulsa
yeah,
King, those
yeah,
are
yeah.
elsewhere.
Yeah,
I don't know if Tulsa King is filmed in Tulsa or not. I haven't looked that up. I'm sure it's around there somewhere.
yeah. You would think
Yeah. Have you watched Tulsa King?
no.
You need to watch that. It's really good. It I For people who don't think that Stallone can act, you haven't seen enough of his stuff. He really is good at what he does, and he's not always just the action person that you see in a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
movies.
yeah. There's a couple of things that he's done that I think are again one of my favorite caper movies is Copland. I
Hmm.
love that. He is
Hmm.
fucking phenomenal in that movie.
Yeah.
And Oscar, he was a comedic role that he did back in the early '90s that everybody shit on. It's like, dude, this movie's fucking great.
Hmm. Yeah. And Tulsa King is great. It's brilliant. There's a lot of really good actors in there. The storyline is very compelling, very good. So give that a whirl. Give that a whirl. That's all I got. You got anything for us? Are you ready to step over to the nerdy
Yeah,
side of
I
the house?
actually went out and did some karaoke with my nephew the other
Mm,
night for my birthday.
that's right. We
And,
we
and Jeffrey finally got a video of me singing Purple Rain, and it's terrible.
Well,
I was pitchy as shit.
it's not like I've never seen it in person. You know, never once or 1,000 times. Uh, so yeah, I forgot to mention that last week when we were saying your birthday. But yeah, Ethan, our listener Ethan, he sent me the video. He
What
took
up, Biggie?
to a local bar and did that. So all right, it's your show. Take it away.
All right, today we're going to talk about three westerns with the same story.
Okay.
Um, it's a collaboration between Howard Hawks and Lee Bracken, or Lee Brackett. I'm sorry, and a lot of people would say John Wayne because he's in all three of them as the same character. I'm going to start by saying this: John Wayne is the least interesting character in all three of these films. These films have he is basically he's just a straight man. Everything else that goes on about these movies happens around him, and that's what makes them interesting. So we'll talk about Howard Hawks and Lee Brackett real quick. Howard Hawks was an American film director, producer, and screenwriter of the classic Hollywood era. Leonard Maltin called him the greatest American director who is not a household name. Roger Ebert called Hawks one of the greatest American directors of pure movies and a hero of auteur critics because he found his own laconic values in so many different kinds of genre material, which is a really flowery way of saying he kind of did his thing, did what he wanted to do. He won the Academy Award for Best Director for Sergeant York in 1941, so he goes way back. He earned an honorary Academy Award in '74. He's a versatile director. He did comedies, dramas, gangster films, science fiction, film noir, and westerns. He's most well known for westerns. His most popular films include Scarface, the original from 1932, Bringing Up Baby from '38, Only Angels Have Wings in '39, His Girl Friday in 1940, To Have and to Have Not in 1944, The Big Sleep in 1946, Red River in 1948, The Thing from Another World in 1951, or the original The Thing. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes in 1953 and Rio Bravo in 1959. His frequent portrayals of strong, tough talking female characters. Why is that so hard to say? Came to be defined as Hawksian women. In 1959, Hawks worked with John Wayne in Rio Bravo, also starring Dean Martin, Ricky Nelson, and Walter Brennan as four lawmen defending the fort. Okay, so the movies we're talking about are Rio Bravo, made in 1959, El Dorado, made in 1966, and Rio Lobo, made in 1970. It is the same story. It is the same story told from three different perspectives. It's all basically the same point of view, but from 3 different perspectives. Um, they are both remakes of Rio Bravo. They all 3 star John Wayne. It was written by Lee Brackett in 1966. Lee Brackett was an American author screenwriter nicknamed the Queen of Space Opera. She was one of the most prominent female writers during the golden age of science fiction. As a screenwriter, she was best known for her collaborations with director Howard Hawks, mainly writing Western and crime films. She also worked on an early draft of The Empire Strikes Back in 1980. So a lot of the really great dialogue is actually Lee Brackett. But Rio Bravo is a 1959 American Western directed and produced by Howard Hawks. It stars John Wayne, Dean Martin, Angie Dickinson, Ricky Nelson, Walter Brennan, and Ward Bond. It was written by Jules Furtham and Lee Brackett, based on a short story, Rio Bravo, by B.H. Campbell. The film stars Wayne as a Texas sheriff who arrests the brother of a powerful local rancher for murder and then has to hold the man in jail until a U.S. Marshal can arrive. With the help of a lame old man, a drunk, and a young gunfighter, they hold off the rancher's gang. Rio Bravo was filmed on location at Old Tucson Studios outside of Tucson, Arizona. So again, they talk about Texas, but it's Arizona. Just been to Old Town Tucson quite a bit.
Yeah,
He grew up around there.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, well, didn't grow up. I was born in Tucson and was there through sort of. I kind of moved to Texas and then back, but I was mostly in Tucson until the last half of around the Christmas time, the 3rd grade. And we took many trips to Old Tucson. There was a steakhouse on the way out towards Old Tucson called Pinnacle Peaks. God, I can't believe I remember that. Pinnacle Peaks, and you could smell those steaks cooking for miles.
Nice.
Miles. I mean, it was the old style grills and everything like that. And yeah, it was, that whole area of Old Tucson was really, really cool for the Western era. There was a lot of things filmed there. Bonanza was filmed around Old Tucson and the Old Tucson studios. Old Tucson is really cool. I'm assuming Old Tucson is still up and running.
Yeah, they still use it. I know they used it in it was Deadwood. Did Deadwood use it?
You know what? Continue on, and I will find out.
Okay. It was also filmed in Eastman color with film processing provided by Technicolor. 2014 Rio Bravo was deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress and selected for preservation in the National Film Registry. Because the film starred a crooner, Dean Martin, and a teen idol, Ricky Nelson, Hawks included 3 songs in the soundtrack. Before the big showdown in the jailhouse, Martin sings My Rifle, My Pony, and Me, which contains new lyrics by Webster to a Timokin tune that appeared in Red River, accompanied by Nelson, after which Nelson sings a brief version of Get Along, Little Cindy, accompanied by Martin and Brennan. Over the closing credits, Martin, backed by the Nelson Riddle Orchestra, sings a specially composed song, Rio Bravo, written by Tiomkin with lyrics by Paul Francis Webster. Nelson later paid homage to both the film and his character, Colorado, by including the song Restless Kid in the 1959 LP Ricky Sings Again.
By the way, Deadwood was entirely filmed in California.
Oh, was it really?
Yep.
Okay. Director Quentin Tarantino called Rio Bravo his favorite hangout movie. He once said that if his date doesn't like the film, there will be no relationship. I do have in our YouTube playlist an interview with him talking about that. The musical score was composed by Dmitry Tiomkin, and his score includes the hauntingly ominous El Deguello theme, which is heard several times. And I think in the last episode, we talked about how there was a large North African or Middle Eastern kind of effect on Spanish music. One of those songs, old songs that came out of that was El Deguello. What El Deguello means is the cutthroats. It is the cutthroat song. You play El Deguello outside of a place you're about to hold siege to, i.e., the Alamo, uh, to let the people inside know that you will not be taking prisoners. That's what it's for. And they play the whole damn thing outside the jail with a bugle. It's haunting. It's a really good recording of the Cutthroat song. Which is anytime I get around a mariachi band that will play a request, I always request this song
Mm.
because it's beautiful and it's about killing motherfuckers. Um, so you got this film. You've got the sheriff character trying to hold siege with a drunk and a young kid who comes and wants to help out, and a crazy old man. All three of these films have those central characters, but they're different. Um, Rio Bravo is fine. I don't think it's as good as the other two because I think the emphasis was in the wrong place because they made the John Wayne character the sheriff. Um, he should be the friend of the sheriff because this is the way he is in the other two films, and it makes more sense, and you'll see why. Again, I've got videos of some of the stuff, including the songs because the songs were beautiful. Um, the next one is the 1966 film, and in my humble opinion, the best one. I went back and watched all of these as I was making the notes again. They're all readily available. It is El Dorado. It is a 1966 American Western film directed and produced by Howard Hawks, stars John Wayne and Robert Mitchum. Written by Lee Brackett and loosely based on the novel The Stars and Their Courses by Harry Brown. The film is about a gunfighter who comes to the aid of an old friend who is a drunken sheriff struggling to defend a rancher and his family against another rancher trying to steal their water. The supporting cast features James Caan, a very young James Caan, Charlene Holt, Paul Fix, Arthur Honeycutt, Michael Carey, R.G. Armstrong, Ed Asner as the bad guy, very young Ed Asner, Christopher George, Adam Rourke, and Jim Davis. The film was first released in Japan on December 17, 1966, and then in the United States on June 7th, 1967. The film received critical praise and was commercially successful, generating North American rentals of 5.9 million on box office receipts of 12 million. So how the story plays out: J.P. Hara is the sheriff of the town of El Dorado, and observes that his old friend, gun for hire Cole Thornton, has just arrived in response to a mysterious job offer from wealthy landowner Bart Jason, played by Ed Asner. Hara reveals to Thornton that Jason is actually trying to muscle the honest McDonald family from their land, and that Thornton's job will entail taking care of J.P. Hara. J.P. Hara, played by Robert Mitchum, Cole Thornton, played by John Wayne. Thornton agrees to turn down the job and rides out to Jason's ranch to tell him so. Kevin McDonald and his family hear about Thornton's arrival and fear the worst. The youngest son, Luke, is made sentry but falls asleep at his post. As Thornton returns from his confrontation with Jason, Luke is startled awake and fires. Thornton reflexively fires back and wounds Luke in the stomach. Luke commits suicide before Thornton can stop him, believing his wound is fatal. Feeling guilty, Thornton brings the body to the farmhouse and tells Kevin what happened. The only daughter of the McDonald clan, Joey, rides off before she can hear the truth and shoots Thornton on his way back to town. Thornton survives, but the bullet is lodged up against his spine. Local medic Doc Miller cannot remove it, so Thornton departs after healing, despite the protests of local saloon owner Maudie, who has feelings for him. Over time, the bullet in his back presses against his spine, causing bouts of temporary paralysis in his right side. 6 months later, Thornton is in a saloon out of town, having avoided El Dorado. He witnesses a naive young man, Alan Berdillion Traherne, who they refer to as Mississippi. This is James Caan, confronting and killing Charlie Hagan, who killed Mississippi's foster father, Johnny Diamond. 2 years earlier, Thornton steps in to save Mississippi. Charlie's friend, Mitt and Pedro, their employer, famed gunslinger Nels McLeod, is impressed and offers Thornton a job in El Dorado. Thornton tells Nels McLeod, hey, I've already turned that job down. This is what it's about. And Nels is like, I don't care. Lee Brackett wrote the original script, which she described as the best script I had ever done in my life. It wasn't tragic, but I was one of those things where Wayne died at the end. However, she said that as production neared, the more we got into doing Rio Bravo over again, the sicker I got because I hate doing things over again. And I kept saying to Howard, I did that, and he says it was okay, and we could do it again. So instead of dying, the John Wayne character does not die. What happens is the bullet that's pressing up against the spine in a really large shootout. He's sitting on a wagon with a rifle, and it affects him, and a guy shoots at him and gets him in the leg, but it's not that made him fall down. It was that bullet pressing because it made him jump, and bullet presses against his spine, and he falls off the wagon. And he nearly dies. The thing is, the character of Mississippi, played by James Caan, falls for the Joey character, Joey McDonald. He is really good with knives, which is in your magnificent style westerns. You always have someone who's really good with blades, but it's not really good with guns. They basically get him a sawed-off shotgun, double barrel, that's pistol size. So it's like this big. So because he can't shoot, but he's really good with knives, he has his knives, which he throws. If he's got to clear a room, he steps up with that double-barreled shotgun and lets it fly, which in close quarters basically makes everybody dive or get messed up. And so he's that character. He's the young gunslinger character. Robert Mitchum, the character of J.P. Harris, had fell in love with a woman. She ran out, and he became a drunk. So when John Wayne gets back, or Cole Thornton gets back to El Dorado to help them out, J.P. Harris is a drunk, and the whole town's laughing at him. And he has to help things out because Bart Jason steps over the line. So they go and arrest him and bring him back, and hold him until the marshal or the judge can get there. And it is that fortress jail, again, also filmed in Technicolor at old Tucson Studios. So it's in exactly the same place. They also filmed it in around Kanab, Utah. Again, it's supposed to be Texas. None of it's filmed in Texas. Harold Rosen, the cinematographer, was coaxed to come out of retirement to do this film, and it's beautiful. The vistas, the backgrounds, everything is just lovely about this film. It's, again, the same story as Rio Bravo, but turned on its side. Instead of the deputy being the drunk, the sheriff is the drunk. So it changes the emphasis on the story. And the character of Mississippi is way more interesting than the Ricky Nelson character. Also, Ricky Nelson was not as good of an actor as James Caan was. I mean, I'm not as good of an actor as James Caan is either. So that's not, I'm not begrudging Ricky Nelson. James Caan's just really fucking good. There's a reason why he's been in what he's been in. And he's such a sympathetic, kind character. And he's really smart and kind of strangely coded. Like, he has all these weird facts in his head because he grew up on a Mississippi riverboat. He's, by nature, he is a traveling person. So he's just kind of weird. And he's got this weird hat that everyone makes fun of. Well, he got it from Johnny Diamond, who was a riverboat gambler. So he wore a hat like a riverboat gambler. It's basically a top hat with the silver conchos around it as in a band. I think it's cool. I would wear it. It's kind of similar to the hat that Slash wears, although a little more it's a little more cut. It's cut a little more technically. It's less sloppy than Slashes, but it's basically the same path.
Hmm.
Um, the next, have you ever seen any of these movies?
I have. It's been a very, very long time.
I meant to stop and ask you that before we get to the second
That's
one.
okay. It's been a
Um,
very long time since I've seen
yeah.
them.
The next or the final film is Rio Lobo. It is a 1970 American Western film directed by Howard Hawks. Stars John Wayne from a screenplay by Burton Wool and Lee Brackett. The film was shot in Cuernavaca in the Mexican state of Morelos and in Tucson, Arizona, the old town Tucson. The musical score was composed by Jerry Goldsmith. It was the third Howard Hawks film to explore the themes of a town sheriff defending his office against belligerent local outlaws, the others being Rio Bravo and El Dorado. Both also starring John Wayne. And again, John Wayne is the least interesting character in all of these. It could have been played by anyone. I mean, I understand why they got John Wayne because he was the money draw for these, but I would like to see some remakes of these because as far as westerns go, these are in Magnificent Seven territory.
So let me get very controversial here. I'm not a huge John Wayne fan. Um, I prefer Clint Eastwood westerns
Mm-hmm.
to John Wayne. I prefer him as a Western actor. I was never ever really a huge John Wayne fan. I mean, he's okay, but wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, yeah. Um, again, everybody else in these movies is way more fascinating than the John Wayne character. He's playing the same character in all of the movies, the stand-up the stand-up gunman. That's all he's doing. He's playing the stand-up gunman, which is fine, but you could have got anybody for that. I mean, I'm not saying you could have put, a broomstick with a face drawn on it. You do need to interact a little bit, but honestly, I think if you'd have put Clint Eastwood in this, in all three of these films, they
Yeah.
probably would have been better. Because Clint Eastwood's just that good.
He's great in westerns.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So this one is okay. So generally, westerns take place for the uninitiated between the Civil War and the death of Queen Victoria. That's when westerns take place.
Mm-hmm.
So that's only like a 30-year period. Maybe a little more. Civil War ended in 1865, and Queen Victoria died, like 1902, something like that?
That sounds close.
Yeah, it's
Continue.
like a 35-year period. All westerns take place in this period. Very few take place before or after that.
1901.
1901. Okay, so there you go. Yeah, it's a 35 or 36-year period. This one takes place very early on. And the reason those westerns take place in that period, it is before industrial warfare, which happened in the early 20th century. And after, because at the beginning of the Civil War, we didn't have bullets. We had caps and balls. Bullets get invented during the Civil War. So you have to have a Western, you have to be able to have 6 guns. They didn't really have those. Yes, they existed, but it took forever to load one. You could put, you loaded up 6 guns, you got 2 of them, blah 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 blah, but then you're done. It takes you 5 minutes to get both those bad boys loaded. One of the main concepts of the Western is there's gunfights, and you really don't see those between, in the cap and ball era, and you don't really see those after we invent things like machine guns. So this film takes place at the end of the Civil War. Actually, it's right at the end of the Civil War. There's a Civil War, I don't want to say battle, but sort of a skirmish at the beginning of the film, and that's what sets the story up.
Well,
Uh,
understand for those who are not initiated to history or not very versed with history, the Civil War officially ended in 1965. There were many skirmishes that still went on for a long time because those areas,
1865.
those 1865. I'm sorry. What did I say? Yeah,
1965.
yeah.
That's when,
18,
well, that's when we signed the Civil
no,
Rights
no, no, no,
Voting
no,
Act,
no,
so
no, no.
maybe you're correct.
No, 1865. A lot of skirmishes were and battles still were going on because places were not aware that the Civil War was over.
Yeah,
They didn't know that it had ended, and so I think the last battle happened in Texas,
yeah,
well after the actual end, because you got to realize once the Civil War was over, surrender was done, they had to send people away on a horse to the far reaches of the Civil War locations to say, "Hey, we're done. We're
yeah.
done. Y'all can stop fighting now."
And then they had to and then they had to get confirmation. Well, this
Yeah.
guy could just be a Yankee spy, or this
How,
guy could just be a Southern spy.
how
Yeah,
awful would that be? So a guy rides on horseback, just pell mell, sleeping where he can on horseback from way on the east side of the country,
yeah.
ride pell mell into Texas, get there and go, "Hey, the Civil War's over." No, you better go back and prove that. Are you fucking kidding me? You know,
It's, man,
dude, come on.
I don't even know where I live anymore.
I don't even know if the people I left behind are still living.
That was 3 months ago. Yeah. So anyway, so at the very end of the Civil War, a secret Union Army payroll train is raided by Confederates, led by Captain Pierre Cardona, who's a very interesting character. I love this guy, and Sergeant Tuscarora Phillips. Union Colonel Cord McNally loses his close friend, Lieutenant Ned Forsyth, in the raid, and the complexity of the Confederate scheme indicates that a Union traitor must have provided them with the details about the transport. In the ensuing pursuit, McNally's squad is spread thinner and thinner until he is left alone and captured by the Confederates. McNally tricks them by leading them to a Union camp and raises the alarm. Cordona and Tuscarora are captured but refuse to tell McNally who sold them their information. Despite this development, the three men gain a mutual respect for each other. After the war ends, McNally visits Cordona and Tuscarora as they are being released. He asks them once more about the traitors, and they're surprised that McNally does not resent them for the death of Lieutenant Forsyth. But as Cord McNally says, what you did was an act of war, and I understand that. We are no longer at war, so I am okay, you know, because I could have just as easily killed you. You could have just as easily killed me, but we fought with respect for another. What bothers me is I had three traitors in my midst that I didn't know about. So they give him the information. They didn't know their names, but they described him to them. And they all were from Texas. They all lived in a well. Cordona wasn't. Cordona was he was a Cajun. His mother was or his father was a Mexican national, and his mother was a Cajun woman. So that's why he's Pierre Cordona. He speaks both. He speaks English, French, and Spanish, but Tejano Spanish and Cajun French and Texas English, which I thought was a very interesting take because again, that kind of sums Texas up. We are so pretty and our food is so good because we like to mix things up. I'm just saying. Um, they do provide him with a physical description, but they agree to contact him if they happen to run into him because again, they're all from the same area. Sometime later, McNally is contacted by his friend Sheriff Pat Cronin at Blackthorn, Texas. Cronin tells McNally that Cordona is staying at the local hotel and wants to talk to him. When McNally arrives in Blackthorn, he meets a young woman, Shasta Delaney, who has come to report the murder of her employer by a deputy of Rio Lobo Sheriff, Blue Tom Hendricks. Shortly afterwards, a posse from Rio Lobo arrives and wants to take Delaney away. Delaney identifies their leader, Whitey Carter, as the murderer, whom she was referring. When one of the posse aims a gun at Cronin, Delaney shoots Whitey from under the table, resulting in a shootout in which McNally, Cronin, and Cordona finish off the posse. Cordona identifies Whitey as one of the traitors with whom McNally was looking for. The film was meant to be shot in Durango, Mexico, on a budget of $5 million, but shooting in the movie, lawmen took up the facilities there. So Hawks and Cinema Center had to spend an extra $1 million to allow shooting at Old Town Tucson, near Los Angeles. The film was shot in Technicolor. They said Old Tucson Studios was near Los Angeles. That's not true. It's in Arizona. Well, okay, it's closer than Durango, Mexico.
Yeah, it's outside of Tucson. Here,
Tucson.
I'll Google Maps it.
Yeah. Hawk said that he had to fight Cinema Center to cast Chris Mitchum, whose father was actor Robert Mitchum in the movie. He wanted, because Robert Mitchum was in the last film, he wanted to cast one of his sons to play a different character. He played, oh my God, not Cordona, the other, oh God, bless, Tuscarora. The
Yeah,
film
old Tucson is nearer to San Diego than
Yeah.
Los Angeles. Yes, it's just outside of Tucson.
Yeah. The film made 4.25 millions in retail, 20th among the highest money-making pictures of that year, but it grossed $2 million less than its $6 million budget, making it a box office bomb. Upon release, the films received mostly negative reviews. A lot of people were like, this film is not as good as El Dorado or Rio Lobo. I disagree. I think this one is better than Rio Lobo, but it is not as good as El Dorado. The spin of it starting at the beginning of the Civil War was really great. So it's earlier on, because a lot of westerns take place in like between 1879 and 1889. Most westerns take place in that 10-year period. This one is an earlier adaptation. The other two films we talked about took place in that 10-year span, 1879 to 1889.
I'm so sad. Pinnacle Peaks is no longer out towards Old Tucson. It's moved into town.
Has it really?
That makes me sad.
Has it moved into town, or has town moved in to meet it?
No, it's moved into town.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very into town.
Well, hey, at least it's still there.
Yeah, and it still looks like it still looks like it did. It has all the Western facade shops and everything like that.
Nice.
I wonder when it moved. Anyway, bygones.
So yeah, of these films, this is my second favorite, but again, this started with the idea of, I love this story. I would like to see someone remake this story. And I would like to see it done exactly the same way. I would like to see a Rio Lobo version. I would like to see an El Dorado version, and I would like to see a what's the first one? I get them confused all the time. Rio Bravo. It's Rio Bravo and Rio Lobo are rivers. El Dorado is a mythical city, but they're all supposedly small Texas towns. I honestly would like to see them filmed in either West Texas or like Central Texas, which is where most of these stories are supposed to take place. Because you could still get out there and see some cool stuff. Plus, it's beautiful out there. Again, you've seen Landman. It looks like that. Only if you go down to the hill country, you get more. I don't want to say mountains. We don't really have. Well, we got mountains in the far south, but we don't really have mountains. They're more big hills. It kind of breaks up the monotony. But yeah, I would like to see these films remade. I love all three of these movies, but again, my favorite would probably be El Dorado, just because it speaks to me a little more. But Rio Lobo being second and Rio Bravo being third. I used to own all of these on video cassettes, and I wore the El Dorado one out. Plus, I like the language of them. I grew up watching westerns because it was my grandfather's favorite. And we watched a lot of late night westerns. We would watch a western for him, and we watch a science fiction film for me. Is generally how
I think that was kind of our generation. I mean, granted, our parents grew up on Westerns.
Yeah.
Westerns was very, very prevalent in their teenage years and early adult years. And I think our generation adapted to liking and watching Westerns as well because we got it from our parents. I watched a lot of Westerns because of my mother. Um, for us, on what was then Channel 39 on Saturdays and Sundays in the afternoon were Westerns. You had
All day.
Lone Ranger, um, The Rifleman, Bonanza, Big
Rawhide.
Valley, Rawhide, Have Gun Will Travel. You know, those were on all afternoon, and we watched them every week, every week. So I think some of that's lost. They've done some really, really good modern Westerns.
Hmm.
Um, but
We've got an episode coming up, I think an exclusive on like postmodern Westerns.
yeah, they're and they can be outstanding. I just, I don't want the Western to go away, and I don't want people to lose the joy that can be a Western because they
Yeah.
can be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the cowboy is a quintessentially American design.
Right.
Yeah. A lot of people say that can be linked to, a pirate. It's the same sort of person, but
Hmm.
honestly, the pirate is a Western Hemisphere creation as well. So a cowboy and a pirate are basically the same thing. They live by their own code. Um, they they follow the right and wrong as is encoded in their brain, not what society says. And that's they want to keep the part of the world that is wild still wild, and and get along and make their way.
Yep.
That is quintessentially American, and it's very Texan too. I mean,
Hmm.
no offense.
Hmm.
And I know I say Texan. I am not an American. I'm a Texan. I'm
Well,
sorry. I'm just not.
and most people when they think about a Western, they think Texas.
Yeah.
They don't immediately think of Arizona, which was very big in the Western culture. I mean, in that time period, Arizona, New Mexico,
Uh-huh.
Oklahoma, Nevada,
Uh-huh.
California, even.
Oh yeah.
But most people think cowboy and they think Texas. But
Texas.
I mean Kansas City.
Uh-huh. A
You had
lot of
so
that
much.
stuff, yeah, a lot of those stories that we get, all of the Young Guns mythos and stuff like that, the Billy the Kids, and all that happened out in Arizona, man.
Yeah.
Why or New Mexico? Wyatt Earp, Arizona,
Arizona, but originally he was a lawman in
in
Kansas City.
Kansas City. That's right.
So the old West towns, and it was exactly that. It was the wild, wild West, and you had the various shades of cowboys from the settler who was looking to farm land, to the gunslinger, to the gambler, to the
Hmm.
drinker, to the
Hmm.
gold finder. It was people expanding, and the Wild
Yeah.
West was very wild.
Yes.
Um, most people carried a gun with them, whether it be a pistol at their hip or a rifle that they carried.
Or
Um,
or a shotgun.
yeah,
You had
or
to.
because it could be very dangerous.
Yeah.
Not
You
not
had
just
you.
from the Indians that were out there, but from bad actors out there as well
Yeah.
who were looking to take, rob easy prey. So
As well as wildlife.
yes,
Um.
yes.
Um. We have a thing here in Texas called a copperhead. A lot of people are worried about rattlesnakes and cottonmouths. Rattlesnakes and cottonmouths have an aggression display, which means they don't want to tussle with you, they want to scare you away.
Hmm.
Copperheads do not have that display. They want to freeze and hide and wait for you to walk away.
Hmm.
Until you step on them, then they bite you and slither off. They have a very strong neurotoxin. So generally, when people get bit by a snake and subsequently have to go to the hospital or die, it is generally not from cottonmouths or water moccasins, which is the same thing.
Did you know, by the way,
or rattlesnakes.
which I did not, there apparently is a vaccine now that you can take for rattlesnake venom. Not an anti-venom, a
A vaccine.
vaccine. Yes. When we took Loki
You know what? That
to,
makes sense because I know a lot of dogs, if they got bit enough, they basically just got immunity.
well, when we took Loki to the vet the last time, we saw a sign on the wall for rattlesnake vaccine, which was interesting. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Nice.
far off
Y-
topic.
Yes, but yeah, it's you had to carry and the native populations were pretty mad that they were taking their stuff away from them. So they had an axe to grind, literally and figuratively. Um, so there was all kinds of stuff going on in the West. And again, we're talking about 35 years. By the time we get to 1900, all of that's over.
Right.
Everything's
Mostly, yeah.
been settled. I
Yep.
mean, yeah, there were a few corners, but I mean, people look upon that time fondly because it evokes the settling of the country and things like that. Let me tell you something. You did not want to live in the Old West. You would hate it.
Oh, it was
As a
dirty. It was
modern
full of
person,
disease.
yeah,
Yeah.
you would hate it. You got to take a bath like once every 2 months if you were lucky.
Oh, yeah. I am absolutely certain that in Old West towns it just stunk.
All the
It just
time.
stunk all
There
the
was
time.
they had
Um,
horses. Do you know what horses do all day? They
uh,
shit.
very famous, the video game, The Oregon Trail. The common outcome of the Oregon Trail was you have died of dysentery.
You died of
Um,
dysentery. It's
you
because
know,
you can't get no clean water.
right. It was very dirty. And because I mean, they didn't have the refinements that we do today. It was very hard life. They didn't have air conditioning. Those beds could not have been that soft.
Mm-mm.
It was a lot of very hard life. And that's
Yeah,
what and the Western, the Westerns don't actually depict that as well as they should.
yeah.
Just how dirty. I think the one that really depicted just kind of how dirty the Wild West could be,
Hmm.
Back to the Future 3.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and
You would be
so
shocked and amazed.
yes, I think you would
Why
be
does it
very shocked.
stink? Does it stink?
I think you would be very shocked and amazed. Oh, they were just, they were used to it. You can get nose blind. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, anyway, definitely check out Westerns. Check out these three. It's been a long time since I watched them. I would definitely check them out. John Wayne is not my favorite. I would
yeah,
prefer a good Clint Eastwood Western, and there's many of those. Um, Hell, go back and watch him in Rawhide.
yeah.
Um, I love a good Western. I love when we talk about them, and I'm looking forward to the upcoming modern day Western one.
Yeah, remakes of
So
these, and honestly, I would really like to see a remake where they basically do all three of them.
yeah, yeah, awesome. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
With that, we'll step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off Medium, Wikipedia, and the New Yorker. And this is the story. It's really about Rachel's Law, and we talk very much about Rachel Hoffman, but it's not entirely her story. But I did title it Rachel Hoffman and Rachel's Law because that was kind of the outcome of all this. But I talked last week to stay tuned for stories about coercion where law enforcement coerces somebody into a confession or worse, something else. And that's what this story is about. This story is
Oh
really,
no.
yeah, this story is really kind of about three people, and we'll talk about that. Rachel Hoffman is the primary one in here, and her law came out about this. So here we go. It was 2008. Police in Florida had just arrested a 23-year-old woman named Rachel Morningstar Hoffman. She was a college graduate, and they found six ecstasy pills, 151.7 grams of marijuana, and other drug paraphernalia in her apartment. A neighbor had reported the smell of marijuana coming from Rachel's unit, which prompted a visit from the police. When officers arrived and asked whether she had any illegal substances, she admitted she did and allowed them to search the apartment. She was under drug court supervision for possession of 25 grams of cannabis discovered during a traffic stop on February 22nd, 2007. She was ordered into a substance abuse program, which required regular drug testing. And then later, after failing to report for a test, she spent 3 days in jail. So she was facing multiple charges and possible prison time. Rachel was given a deal by the Tallahassee police officer, Ryan Pender. In exchange for dropping the charges and without informing the prosecutor's office, Pender asked Rachel to work as a confidential police informant.
CI.
Yes, or CI. Her first assignment was dangerous. She was asked to buy 1.5 ounces of cocaine, 1,500 ecstasy pills, and a firearm from two known felons, Danelio R. Bradshaw, who was 28 years old, and Andrea Jabber Green, who was 25 years old and had been under surveillance by police.
1.8 grams of weed is about the size of a grape.
Yeah.
Just for and 6 ecstasy tabs, depending on what kind of ecstasy it was, may not have even been illegal.
Right. But according to the New Yorker, Rachel placed the order, explaining to the dealers that she needed the drug for friends visiting from Miami and requested a small and pretty handgun. When asked why she needed a gun, she reportedly replied, "I'm just a little Jewish girl. I need to be safe." I'm so sorry. Excuse me. Let me take a sip of coffee just real quick.
Big sip.
There we go. That'll be better. So police outfitted Rachel with a surveillance wire and recording device hidden in her purse, along with $13,000 in cash. Rachel met with the dealers at Forest Meadow Park, a public area where children were playing and parents were socializing nearby. Before arriving, she texted her boyfriend, "Wish me luck. I'm on my way." He responded, "Good luck, babe. Call me and let me know what's up." And her final text read, "It's about to go down." As Rachel reached the meeting location, police were listening in via the wire, but the situation quickly deteriorated. The suspects unexpectedly changed the location of the deal, and an officer tracking them radioed, quote, "We're on Gardner. Looks like the deal is going to go here. It's a dead-end street." Officer Pender tried to reach Rachel, telling her, "Turn around," but the call was cut off. What is wrong with my voice? Pender later said, quote, "I had no response from her. Either she hung up on me or we lost the signal. They lost track of her when the wire improperly installed on her failed, and she agreed with the suspects to change the plans and left the buy spot with the two suspects in their stolen silver BMW. Officers rushed to Gardner Road, but by the time they arrived, Rachel and her vehicle were gone. But what they did find was alarming. There was a spent .25 caliber shell, 2 live rounds, 6 cigarette butts, and a single black flip-flop. Later, officers visited Rachel's boyfriend home. He hadn't heard from her. And as police left, he overheard one of them say, quote, "She was with us until shit got crazy." According to police documents, a witness described seeing the BMW stuck in a ditch in Taylor County with a 2005 Volvo, which belonged to Rachel, idling nearby, between 7 p.m. and 7:30 p.m., about 30 minutes after the police lost track of her. The witness claimed that the BMW drove off when he stopped to help the driver try to get the car out of the ditch, but the vehicle later returned as the witness was leaving. The witness claimed he became suspicious and decided to leave when the driver of the Volvo opened the trunk and revealed a camouflage blanket and neat stacks of female clothing. The next day, Rachel's mother, Margie Weiss, received a chilling phone call from the Tallahassee Police Department that simply said, quote, "Your daughter's missing." She was asked to drive from Palm Harbor to Tallahassee immediately. Rachel's father, Irv Hoffman, also received the call. But when they arrived, what was odd is they were directed to the narcotics unit. Margie said, quote, "I remember noticing they weren't taking us to missing persons. Instead, it was like, come over here to narcotics." Police and a victim advocate explained that Rachel was missing, but assured them they were searching. They instructed the family to wait at Rachel's apartment, but the family would learn through a news report, not the police, that Rachel had been working as a confidential informant during a botched drug bust. 2 days later, Rachel's body was found in Perry, Florida, 50 miles southeast of Tallahassee, in a ravine tangled with vines. She was draped in an improvised shroud made from her Grateful Dead sweatshirt and an orange and purple sleeping bag. She had been shot 5 times in the head and chest with the very gun she was sent to purchase. And when Margie and her husband Mike stepped out to get breakfast, Irv received the call confirming that Rachel's body had been found. Rabbi Jack Romberg confronted Margie when she returned, breaking the news that her daughter had been killed. Green and Bradshaw were arrested at 6:30 a.m. Green's wife told investigators he had bought a bag of aspirin, pretending it was ecstasy, and had planned to rob Rachel. She admitted, quote, they found a wire in her purse and shot her. On TV, Officer David McCrane told the public, quote, we had established protocols in place to ensure her safety. At some point, she chose not to follow the instructions, so he's blaming Rachel for her own death.
That's a fucking lie.
Well, we know that right now.
I'm sorry.
When he was on TV, the public did not know that.
Lie, motherfucker.
But, well, yeah, he's blaming Rachel for her own death.
Yeah.
News outlets did quickly pick up the story and were painting Rachel as a drug dealer. ABC News aired an interview with Police Chief Dennis Jones, who said, quote, I'm calling her a criminal. That's my job. When asked about the department's accountability, he added, quote, we're responsible for the safety of this community.
Great. So because the police won't admit that they did something wrong, and of course the journalists, as we've said before, are inherently lazy. Okay, I'm sorry. This is already making me really fucking mad.
I know, and it will. It absolutely will. Irv had no prior experience speaking to the media, so he turned to Michael Schiavo, who had been through a highly publicized ordeal involving his wife, Terry Schiavo. You may know that name.
Yep.
Michael offered Irv guidance. Together, Irv and Margie began fighting back. Irv wrote for hours, questioning why police would ask someone with no training to purchase a gun and drugs and a gun. Margie began working on policy reform, and with the help of attorney Lance Block, they began drafting a bill. A grand jury later stated, quote, letting a young, immature woman get into a car by herself with $13,000 to meet 2 convicted felons known to be armed was an unconscionable decision. She cried out for help as she was shot and killed, and nobody was there to hear her. An internal affairs investigation did find that officers had violated at least 21 different policies in Rachel's case. And when asked for comment, Chief Jones admitted, quote, I didn't think it would be so many policies not being followed. He also then expressed regret for blaming Rachel. Well, at least that's good.
Yeah.
On May 7th, 2009, the anniversary of Rachel's death, Governor Charlie Crist signed Rachel's Law, and this law requires the confidential informants to receive proper training and are not coerced into cooperation with the promise of dropped charges. It also allows them to request a lawyer before agreeing to cooperate. Rachel's parents were awarded $2.6 million in the wrongful death settlement from the city of Tallahassee. Margie ended up founding the Rachel Morningstar Foundation, advocating for confidential informant reform, and Irv established a scholarship in Rachel's name. On December 17th, 2009, which unfortunately would have been Rachel's 25th birthday, Bradshaw was found guilty of first-degree murder with robbery and sentenced to life without parole plus 30 years, which would be served concurrently. Means he ain't getting out.
Nope. He's getting out feet first.
And on November 11th, 2010, Green pleaded no contest to second-degree murder and robbery with firearm, was sentenced to life in prison without parole. So, Rachel was not the first, second, or even third person to die while working as a confidential informant. Her case, though, brought attention to a pattern of reckless and often deadly decisions by law enforcement agencies across the country. One such case was that of LeBron Gaither, who was a 16-year-old from Lebanon, Kentucky. While attending school, he punched an assistant principal and was arrested for juvenile assault. While in custody, a Kentucky State Police officer offered him a choice: face prison time or work as a CI. LeBron's mother struggled with addiction, and he saw the offer as a chance to get drugs off the street and help his mom, so he took the deal. For the next 2 years, LeBron worked as an informant in 2 counties. Eventually, police asked him to set up a drug deal with a dealer named Jason Noel and testify against him in front of a grand jury. On the day of the operation, LeBron wore a wire and met Noel at a local grocery store. Police gave him code phrases to signal if something went wrong. He was supposed to say, quote, "I wish my brother was here if he was in danger." But what LeBron and police didn't know was that Noel had already learned LeBron was going to testify against him. And according to the state attorney, the plan to use LeBron the sting was, quote, "reckless, stupid, and idiotic." Police lost track of LeBron. Noel abducted him, tortured him, beat him repeatedly with a bat, and shot him both with a pistol and a shotgun, and then ran over him with a car. And then he dragged LeBron's body through the woods using a chain.
Jesus.
Yeah.
This was a kid.
Yeah. LeBron's family later filed a lawsuit against police in 2009. They won a $168,000 wrongful death settlement. I thought that was very low.
It's Kentucky.
Yeah.
That'll go a long way in Kentucky.
It will. It will. I just still thought that was very low. But as the New Yorker reported in May of that year, a state appeals court ruled that although Gaithier's use as an informant was, quote, "tragically flawed," the police could not be held accountable, stating that the execution of the undercover operation was left to the judgment and discretion of the detectives. So the family now hopes to take their case to the Kentucky Supreme Court. Another case occurred in Detroit in 2011 involving Shelley Hilliard. She was a transgender teenager whose family called her Treasure. After leaving her mother's home and failing to return, Shelley's family grew concerned. Her sister Michelle checked Facebook and saw disturbing posts like "Rest in peace, Shelley," and "She's with God now." So the family, of course, began worrying. On October 23rd at 4:30 a.m., Shelley's torso was discovered underneath an old mattress along the I-94 service road. Months later, the rest of her remains, except for her hands, were found. Her family initially believed Shelley had been targeted for being transgender, that this was a hate crime, but they soon learned that Shelley had been working as a police informant. A few months before her death, she was caught smoking a blunt at a Motel 6 with a friend. Police found an ounce of marijuana hidden in a toilet tank, and they offered her a choice: serve time or help them in a sting operation. So she was terrified of being sent to a male prison, so Shelley agreed. Police instructed her to assist in a sting against a man named Qasim Rakib. She cooperated, and Rakib was arrested, but just hours later, he was released. After assisting police in the arrest of Rakib, he was unexpectedly released, and Shelley knew her life was in danger. So being scared and uncertain, she turned to her mother asking what she should do. And she also reached out to the police pleading for protection, but no one was there for her. Her mother told the New Yorker, quote, "She was for help and they were nowhere to be found. Now I've lost my baby for an ounce of weed. It's like they just threw her away." Days later, Rakib, with an accomplice named James Matthew, tracked Shelley down, strangled her, dismembered her, and set her body on fire. Shelley wasn't just failed by the system; she was abandoned. And this and her death is just a tragic example.
Everybody who signed off on this, every detective that signed off on this, should be put up for reckless endangerment charges.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Reckless,
I mean,
not civil charges, criminal charges, and
yes.
put them in general pop.
Yeah,
See how they like it.
I can't agree with that at all. It's just kind of an example that police continue to exploit and discard informants even after they're begging for help, like she did.
Yeah. I don't want to go far as to say ACAB, but God damn it, you're definitely making a point for it.
ACAB?
All cops are bastards.
I disagree with that. I completely disagree with that because they're not. I know some that they're absolutely not. I may have told this on the show before. I know personally one that found a bag on the side of the road that had, and this was in the late 80s, early 90s, had something like $20,000 on it. And he needed money. And he turned around and he turned it in.
Yeah, but you also Trans Wesley, you know for a fact how corrupt those systems are.
Oh, absolutely, I do. I absolutely do. I'm not saying that there isn't corruption. I know there is corruption, and I know there are bad cops out there. I do not believe all cops are bad. I absolutely do not believe that. I believe there are many out there that do it for the right reasons and uphold the law and do the right thing. The unfortunate thing is we have a lot that are very showcased and headlined when it's bad.
Hmm.
And I think it paints an unjust picture of the ratio between good and bad.
So you're
I
saying
the,
you think that the picture that's being painted is that the ratio between good and bad is being painted as more bad than there
yeah,
are good. Okay.
yes, and I don't think that's the case. I think we have more good than bad, but the bad gets
Yeah.
sensationalized out there.
Yeah.
Do I believe there needs to be police reform? Absolutely, I do, because I think there's many cases where police have done the wrong thing. They have acted the wrong way. They have acted and they are corrupt. These are some of the
Giving a ticket to the mayor of the town you were working in, it gets you in trouble. That's
city
fucked
ci-
up, dude.
city councilmen.
I'm sorry, city councilman. I
City councilmen.
apologize.
It's okay. Um, yes, just want to be accurate. Was not the mayor, city
It was
councilman.
not the mayor; it was the city councilman.
And I'm not going to go into that. I'm not going to besmirch anybody on that.
Okay.
But it is an example that we do have police out there that continue to exploit the system. Both the men in Shelley's death were convicted. They were sentenced to 25 years in prison.
Yeah.
Later, when Lieutenant Joseph Quisenberry, who was the commander of the local narcotics enforcement team, was asked whether there were protections in place for informants, he admitted, quote, "I don't have a written guideline that governs every situation. I've heard this was someone living in a more dangerous context." You know, police departments around the country have had a very troubling history of recruiting young, vulnerable individuals with no training or experience to serve as CIs under the threat of jail time. And this is where I talked about that coercion that we've got to get rid of. These informants are often promised protection, but are rarely given the tools, the resources, or the backup to stay safe. In a lot of cases, they're treated as disposable assets. They're used for dangerous operations and then discarded when things go wrong. These three tragic deaths that I highlighted, Rachel Hoffman, LeBron Gaither, Shelley Hilliard, show the deadly consequences of this kind of system and this kind of behavior. Instead of being protected, they were exploited. Instead of justice, their families were left with silence and worse, blame.
Hmm.
Every day, offenders are set out to perform high risk police operations with very few legal protections. Some are juveniles, occasionally as young as 14 or 15. Some operate through addiction. Others, like Hoffman, are enrolled in state mandated treatment programs that prohibit their association with illegal drugs of any kind. And many have been given false assurances by the police, used without regard for their safety, and treated as disposable pawns of the justice system. It's terrible that they do that. This is where this reform has to happen, and this is where I'm glad they've got Rachel's Law, which was passed, and that was really the point of this whole story. We do have to have police reform. I am not in the camp of defund the police. I'm absolutely not. I think if you defund the police, I think you're actually going to do worse because you're taking money away that they may need for the protection of officers who are
Well, yeah,
trying to
yeah.
do the right thing.
Yeah, but defund the police isn't. I think that's a bad expression. What they mean is the police. The police should not be counselors
No, no,
and healthcare professionals and other stuff. That
no.
doesn't need to be their jobs. Their
Well,
job should be catching bad guys.
right,
And
but see,
that's the
but
problem.
and
They've stacked because we do not pay for other services. All of that stuff got moved over to the police to take care of. And that's
so
not their job.
so hold on. You are absolutely correct in what you're saying, and this is where I kind of have a problem with the defund the police. The exact argument you just made that they should not be counselors, they should not be medical professionals, they should not be this. Guess
Mhm.
who that also applies to? Teachers.
Teachers, yeah,
Teachers are
exactly.
forced on their meager salary to be nursemaid, nutritionist, counselor, medical professional, protector, because in some city school systems, they have police or teachers that carry weapons, that
Yeah,
carry guns, and so
I
we're
agree
asking them.
exactly with what you're saying. That
Yeah,
is what, again, it's a bad name for it. That's what the
yes, yes,
defund police movement is
yeah,
about we need all these other services instead of just paying cops and teachers. We
yeah.
need all of it.
That's why
Push this on them.
that's why that should be renamed, because the defund the
Exactly.
police, the reason that's a problem is because that gets people like, oh, I don't know, me, that are sitting here going, that's a terrible thing that we're talking about defunding the police. If they're meaning we have to stop making all of these types of careers that honestly, okay, teachers are extremely underpaid.
Uh-huh.
Police are extremely underpaid
Yes, they
too.
are.
Um,
Yeah, they
fire
are.
firemen actually make pretty decent wage. Um,
Yeah, unless they're volunteer.
unless they're volunteer, right? At which point they don't at all. Because I volunteered as a firefighter, and trust me, I went into fires without a single dime coming my way.
Yeah.
You know, here, put on this bunker suit. We're sending you in a fire. Okay.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
okay.
Here's a
The
Halligan tool.
um that was I got to say that was an interesting time in my life. That was actually kind of fun being a volunteer firefighter. But anyway, I've done a lot in my life.
Yeah.
Um, well, it's because I
By the way,
dabble.
Geoffrey's the one that wrote the ticket to the to the city councilman.
I'm moving away from that one. Um, I don't want to end up going through that city at some point and
Oh yeah.
having my name besmirched and then
Yeah,
suddenly
yeah, yeah,
get
yeah.
taken
I
away.
live over by there. I
Yeah,
think all those people are gone now, though, sir.
I probably, but anyway, that the defund the police. Let's call it what it is. Of movement to make these
Fund everything
careers
else. Fund
to
everything else
to
is basically
fund
what it should be
to
called.
fund the right thing,
Yeah.
to put the funding to the right thing. Um, I'm sorry. Let me step off my soapbox now. Margie Hoffman, um, she did end up building a small memorial garden outside of her office window. Uh,
Oh,
she she planted flowers of persecution, crown of thorns, bleeding heart, alongside of what she considers to be a foliage of resilience, purple passion flowers, an angel trumpet shrub that bloomed, and she planted this on the afternoon that the legislature passed Rachel's law. She spends a lot of
purple
time.
passion flower also bears passion fruit, which is nice. Feeds
Yeah,
local wildlife as well.
she says spends a lot of time counting the monarch butterflies around the milkweed. She said their color reminds her of Rachel's hair. Irv Hoffman too has his rituals. Every morning he drives to Rachel's grave carrying his supplies in a trunk, which is a bottle of water for Rachel's flowers, a pair of scissors to freshen their stems, and a beach chair to sit and read beside his daughter's memorial bench. My heart reaches out to them. I can't imagine feeling that way, having that feeling of losing my own child
Yeah.
due to a terrible
For
injustice.
for getting busted for something that is no longer illegal to possess
Yeah,
where she
yeah,
lived.
it's
No
awful.
longer illegal where she lived.
Yeah. So like I said last week, I wanted to talk more about coercion and police doing the wrong thing. They might have had the right idea in mind, at least to the end game, but it was very poorly handled, planned, and executed. You don't coerce these people into it, and there should be proper training if they're going to do that, and proper protections in place. You've got to
Oh
be
yeah.
able to save people like that.
Yeah.
So sorry, I got on a soapbox. I occasionally will do that from time to time, and I did here as well. I'm very sorry, but I thought it was very important to tell the story of Rachel Hoffman
Yeah.
and Rachel's Law.
Quit fucking these people over because you
Yeah,
have something on them. That's
yeah,
just not right. That's a power struggle already. Just
absolutely, absolutely. So thank you, listeners, for allowing me once again to get on my soapbox. I know I get on this from time to time, but that is my story for this week, the story of Rachel Hoffman and Rachel's Law.
thank you, sir. That was really fascinating.
Not a problem. I appreciate that. That will take us to the end of another recording week. As always, you can find more about us on nerderyandmurdery.com. Our website, our hub for everything about us. You'll find links, you'll find pictures, and you will also find the link to our YouTube page, which Zig so often updates.
Yeah, check it out. You've actually got the Tarantino interview where he talks about a Rio Bravo. Plus, I've got scenes from all of the movies, and you get to see everybody just kind of doing their thing in these westerns. Plus, they're all beautiful Technicolor, super saturated colors. It's beautiful.
Outstanding. Appreciate all your work on that.
Thank you, sir.
You'll also find the link to our merchandise page, or if you wish to show off your Nerdery and Murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something from there. You'll also find the link to our Patreon account, where if you wish to become a patron, that along with our merchandise do go into the costs that are associated with this show. It costs to keep us on the air, to keep our storage, to keep our website, our uploads, everything like that. It is not free, and we do appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Something free you can do, which really helps us and helps others find the content that they're looking for, that we talk about. Please do leave a 5-star review wherever you can. We do appreciate that as well. I'd like to once again say that I believe by the time this comes out, my book Prime Numbers is out. I hope you read it. I hope you enjoy it. Mr. Zig is working on his own book now. He wants to get through that, and he has another book already in mind. So
Yes.
we are. I am trying to do my lifelong dream of being an author, and Zig's coming right along with us. So please go out there. My book Prime Numbers, as Zig gets closer to finishing his and working to publish anything, we'll talk more about that. But please,
right now I don't
check.
necessarily. I have a working title. I don't like it, so that's not. It's not going to be the title.
And that happens. I've had a working title as well, but I'm working on book 2 right now of my series. I don't know if I like the title or not. It may or may not be the final one, but we'll see when it ends. But check it out at on jeffreyhwright.com is my author page, and you can find me on Facebook on Prime Numbers as well. Excuse me, you will find character bios there. The character bios I've been putting have some concept art associated with it, and it also gives you a little bit more depth into the character than necessarily come into the story. It wouldn't have really fit to tell all of that in the book. So it kind of gives you a little bit more background to the characters themselves. So do check that out on Facebook. Last, but certainly not least, to our good friend Chuck. Go to sleep now, Chuck.
Good night, Chuck.
Good night, Chuck. With that,
I have been Zig with your Nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdering.
Cue the music.
And mystery, stories blend with history, talking games and crime unsolved. The greatest minds have revolved. Geeking out on all the lore, mysteries that we explore. Heroes, villains, side by side. Nerdery takes us for a ride. Nerdery and Murdery, stories told so cleverly. Mysteries and fandoms mix every episode of Fix. Sci-fi, magic, comic books, murder scenes and knowing looks, from the realms of fantasy to true crime insanity. Tales of tech and tales of fear. Every week it's all right here, with a twist or with a fact. Nerdy life we can't retract.